Good evening, everybody, and welcome. It's Thursday night. I've cut the wrong video up. Will you look at that? That was a mistake. I put up the wrong intro. Too many intros, and I worked too late today. Apologies. We will be going into the race shortly. I've got everything wrong today. I just got home. I will sort out the logos as we go. So apologies, I literally just walked in the door, so I'm a little rusty, but should be underway. We're now in Q1. Remember, DRS on a Thursday night. We don't do the short quali, we do the full quali. So there will be 3 sessions. Q1, we lose 5 drivers. We only have 14 in the field, so we won't be losing anyone at the end of this session. Everyone will go through. I think that means you're going to see a lot of these drivers not necessarily pushing as hard as they can just yet. Very early days. You can see 2 of those cars, Namassassin and Zubair. They've actually gone out on the medium, so I just told you they're not looking for ultimate lap. Welcome to Panda. Welcome to Marlies. Welcome to Vegas. Yeah, I think that's the first time I've ever put the wrong intro up. And what makes it funnier is I actually made an intro for Vegas, and I just, well, I forgot to put it up. So earlier we mentioned just the 2 drivers on a set of mediums. That's actually doubled now. 4 drivers choosing to go out on the medium. I can tell you by the time we get to Q3, there will be no one running around on mediums. The field today, we have Zubair, Will, Kurbis, Ariamondi, Kev, Arno Goos, Panda, Namassassin, Esotronic, Nick Gishin, Lebby, Zero to Cool, Boogie, Winkies. Who the heck is Boogie? That's what happens when I walk straight in the door and into the comms box. So no lap times just yet. A lot of drivers are on out laps. We already have a few drivers on what should be their quick lap. Everyone seems to be winding up for a quick lap. This is one of the first drivers out on track. It's Arno Goos. Going to be one of the first drivers to set a lap time. It's getting a nice tow here. Using all the tow he can. Good work there between the teammates. Didn't even notice that was 2 Alpines. But very nicely done. Getting the slipstream down that straight can mean so much at a circuit like Vegas, where top speed is crucial. We'll soon find out. It goes around the final bend, and that'll be the first lap time of the evening. It's a 1:33.1, and that is the first benchmark of the evening. Now Zubair is going slowly. Looks like he's lining up for a lap, but remember that car is on mediums. This is Ariamondi. Interesting circuit, this Vegas circuit. Big improvement from the Last time Formula One tried to have a Grand Prix in Las Vegas, that was in 1982, and it was, well, it was a disaster class. I just want to make very clear, they didn't build a race circuit on top of a car park. No, they just raced in the car park. So you can imagine today's drivers over those bumps. Few lap times coming in now. Arno Coast still quickest man. 0 to Pool. Boinkies, Esotronic. This is Zubair. Remember, he did this on mediums. Still not a lap time. The two Aston Martins. Ariomondi and Quibus. Quibus down in P9. Nick Gishin does improve. Goes first driver into the 132s. And these Alpines working very nicely together. Panda slots himself in between those two Alpines. And how did he manage to do that? They were close. They weren't that close, but he got in between them. Panda P2, so now we got, it's all A's in the top 6. We have an Alpine, an AlphaTauri, an Alpine, an Aston Martin, and an Alfa Romeo. Top 6 teams, all starting with the A. Of course, in 2024 that is no longer the case. AlphaTauri has been renamed to RB, and Alfa Romeo has been renamed to Kick Sauber. What some people don't know is that Audi actually bought the rest of the team already. So the Sauber name is still on the car, but Audi are technically already in ownership of that team. But it will only be rebranded in 2026 when the new engine comes. Already a few retirements. Those are drivers that are happy with their lap. Everybody knows they won't be eliminated, but for some drivers they'd like to get a bit of extra track time possibly. 2 Williams, P10, P11. That's Boinkies and Zubair. We know both those drivers are a lot quicker than that. Esotronic P12, Will P13. Well, Will hasn't set a lap time, neither has Dan Ritfeldt. And Dan Ritfeldt's in the pits. Of course, all 14 drivers should go through to the next session, but we have seen in previous races that sometimes the game just works its own thing out. So hopefully we have 14 and then 10 in Q3, unlike on previous occasions where we've had for some reason 9 in Q3 or 8 in Q3 when 10 clearly qualified. This is the only Ferrari on track this evening, Nam Assassin. He's coming to the pits. 2 Williams. This is Will. Also going slowly. We're looking for someone on a quick lap, but there's just not a lot of action out on track right now. This is what happens in Q1 when no one is at risk. Guys tend to almost use it as a practice session. Two Aston Martins now running P4, P5, Ariomondi and Quibus. And look at the lap times between the teammates, they're very close, just 1.5 tenths. More and more cars retiring from the session. We have Esotronic on an outlap. We have Will. Will slowing down. Of course that previous Vegas circuit, there's no remnants of it. It was in the Caesars Palace parking lot, and you know how construction goes in Vegas. There's a huge hotel on what once was a F1 track. Ooh, Esotronic. I'm not sure if he was trying to brake the car or if he missed his braking point, one of the two, but he went straight down the exit road into the barrier. Somehow didn't get damaged, at least that I saw. Dan Ritfeld on an outlap, no lap from him yet. Will in the pits, no lap time from him yet. So 12 of the 14 drivers have set lap times. Don't know if we might squeeze another driver in before the race. It's always possible. We've seen it in the past. Aston Martin's in the pits. Kev on an outlap. Esotronic. Does this say quick lap? Doesn't seem to be using his battery. Dan Ritfeld, one of those two drivers yet to set a lap time. The other one is Will, and he's on an outlap. Straight on this circuit. Simply insane. Very different street circuit to Monaco. This one designed with well, the roads were already there, but everything was put in place with passing in mind, with modern Formula 1 cars in mind, how big these cars are, the fact that they need DRS in order to make overtakes. And what happens is these modern street tracks, they're built for these cars. Monaco just isn't. Of course, you would have seen, I think it was the top 6 drivers in Monaco finished exactly where they started. Will on an outlap, Dan Ritfeld. No lap time from him just yet. He is discharging that battery, so this must be a quick lap, or at least an attempt of a quick lap. We'll find out as he goes over the line. Such a fast final corner, if you can call it a final corner, and he puts himself up into P6. Still 5 minutes remaining in the session, but I think we're going to see everybody retire. Now Will completes his outlap. This is the beginning of his quick lap. Probably didn't hit the apex there in turn 1 the way he would have wanted, but really just needs to get around, set a lap time. Q2 will be a much more important affair than this one. Wants to set that lap time just for the confidence. You don't want to go through to the next session without being able to set a lap time. The 2 Haas drivers are yet to retire. They're still out there. Apologies, but I do need to do this very quickly. There we go, we're back. Sorry, I was hearing voices coming out of my controller. So, Dan Ritfeld, the Haas driver, currently in P6. He's out on a lap, currently 153.4. I think he's coming back into the pits. His teammate sits in the pits. And Will, the McLaren, still looking for that first lap time. Panda, you're in the comment section. You're in P2. Surely one of the favorites for the race. Of course, we can't overlook Nick Gishin. He's been so fast over the past few races and even over in season 9. Very quick driver. But I think that may be the end of the session. Just the one horse remains, and it's Dan Ritveldt. Let me know, guys, poll predictions. What do you guys think will be the time we should be looking at? Dan Ritveldt refuses to retire. So you're going to have to listen to me ramble even longer. There we go, he's retired. There's your results for Q1. Obviously no one will be eliminated from the session. So Nick Gishin, Panda, Arno Ghost, those are your top 3. Then Ariamondi and Quibus in the 2 Aston Martins. Dan Ritveldt, Zero to Cool, Kev, Levy and Namasassin make up the top 10. Then Boinky, Swill, Zubair, Esotronic, P11 down to 14. They'll be going through to Q2 of course. But at the end of Q2 we will lose 4 drivers. And there we go. Beginning of Q2. Obviously each session as we go on, Q1, Q2, Q3, each session does get shorter as we go. The first one was 18 minutes, the second one's going to be 15 minutes. And then Q3, you're only going to have 12 minutes. Pole prediction, a 1 minute 32.2. Remember that lap time, folks. Let's see how close we get to that prediction. That prediction coming from Panda, a 132.2. Going the way of Nick Gishin, apparently. Panda playing himself like an underdog. Suppose it does take the pressure off. You never want to be known as a favorite. Of course, if you're watching, I see there's a few people watching already. Thank you very much for joining us. Sorry, the beginning of the stream was a bit rusty. Just got home a lot later than usual. Wasn't able to prepare the stream, but I'm glad we did manage to get live, and I'm glad we've got people watching. Of course, if you enjoy the video, you must leave a like, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. We upload at least 4 times a week, and we are looking at growing this channel beyond just F1 League racing, so keep tuned. There are ideas in the pipeline. Of course, if you haven't joined the NFR Discord server, you should go over and join the Discord server, and you can let me know. Give me suggestions. What would you like to see? Obviously, there's limitations and things I can't do, but it would be great to see suggestions from you guys, things you'd like to see. And if it's within my capabilities, I will do what I can, but we do have some upcoming ideas. Now we just need to implement them, and I need to find the time to actually do them. Zubair. You guys, in the comment section, just let me know. People have told me in the past that when I'm on board the car, that the engine overpowers my voice. So just let me know if you can't hear me when I'm on board. Does broadcast sound better? Or does this sound fine? Van Rietveld goes quickest 134.0, but we've had predictions of low 132, so there's still a lot more to come. Will goes over the line P2. Those two were the two cars that left it as late as could possibly be to get their lap times done. They got their lap times done first in Q2. Now Boinkies goes to the top of the field with a 133. Very nicely done. Esotronic up into P4 and then immediately demoted to P5 because Panda up into P2 where he was in Q2. Levy has also slotted up into P4. The Aston Martin of Kurbis on an outlap, the Aston Martin of Ariamondi on a fast lap, Kev on a fast lap, Arno Goos, Nick Gishen, two quick drivers, the Alpine drivers. We saw them working together earlier on. They're sitting in the pits, maybe waiting for the track just to quieten up a little. Zero to Cool also on an outlap. You can see in the field the difference between Q1 and Q2. There's a lot more at play. Of course, in Q1 you could have not set a lap time and still gone through. But in this situation, you don't set a lap time, you don't set a decent lap time, you could get knocked out, not see Q3. Give yourself a handful in the race. You don't want to be starting from that far back. You want to start at the front, amongst the action. Of course, we've had about 4 or 5 Vegas Grand Prix on this channel, and all of them have involved multiple safety cars. So I think you can count on a safety car or 2, or maybe even 3. As I mentioned, safety car, the caution pops up. It's just there to give me a fright. Nam Assassin 133.1, quickest man on the track at the moment. This is Zero to Cool. And Ariamondi goes quickest 133.0. We're not quite in the 132s just yet. That whole prediction of 132.2, still 8 tenths away from it. Ariamondi's on an outlap. Nick Gishen remains in the pits. Zero to Cool. He's returning to the pits without setting a lap time. Not the optimal way to get Q2 going. Put so much pressure on that second run. And Vegas is a long track. It could take a while to get around here, so you need to get out as soon as possible. Panda saying that Nick carrying sandbags in the side pods. Well, at the moment he's not even doing the sandbag thing. He's just sitting in the pits. So no movement yet from Nick Gishen. Fastest lap 33.0. Second fastest 33.1. Sorry, 33.0, 33.1, and then 33.2. So very, very close times. Look, I think it's 0.2 of a second within the top 5. Well, thank you for that, Panda. We don't get that information, unfortunately, and I guess in the comms box, that's exactly the kind of information I'm supposed to have. The game doesn't give that to me. Apparently, there is a chance of rain in Vegas. Rain in the Nevada desert? Weirder things have happened. This is Arno Goos looking for his first lap, or timed lap rather, of Q2. He's one of the two Alpines, both Alpines yet to set a lap time. Nick Gisham is behind him on an outlap, so this will be the first Alpine to set a lap. Saw them working together, look, they're working together again. Arno Goos will get a great toe on a track like Vegas with such long straights. Every little bit of extra speed you can get. Here we go, Arno Goos going to go over the line. And he goes up into P1, it's a 1:32.8, it's the first 32 we've seen of the evening. Where is Nick Gisham? Remember, he was on an outlap. His teammate's just gone fastest with a 1:32.8. If you want pole position, you're going to have to be in the 32s. Have a Red Bull that seems to have had an incident. Carbon fiber all over the track, and it looks like a DNF, so that means Esatronic will become the first driver to get eliminated. He's currently outside the top 10 and won't be able to improve, so his elimination is guaranteed. We will lose another 3 drivers. You want to make sure that you're not one of those 3 drivers. Be as close to the top of the field as possible. Now Nick Gisham, no lap time from him just yet. See what he can come up with, getting a great toe. Is this his teammate? I think it might be. If it is his teammate, yes it is. This is a masterclass by the Alpine team. I don't think I've seen teammates giving each other a toe, but this is brilliant. Now Nick Gisham, he's going to go over the line. This final corner, I love it. Full throttle, goes fast. It's the 1:32.7. He's just a tenth ahead of his teammate. Not quite the pole prediction just yet. We're still half a second away from that, but we're getting closer and closer. The 2 Alpines split by a tenth. And they're also the only 2 in the 32s. And as I say that, Levy says, no, I'm in the 32s as well. Levy goes 32.9, good enough for P3, doesn't disturb the 2 Alpines on the front row. This Panda, remember not so long ago, he was in P2. 0 to cool, quickest lap so far, 1:32.727, just 0.03 of a second faster than Nick Gisham. Panda is on an outlap. Today, currently P12, 1:34.1. This would be elimination. He's at risk. Needs to find an improvement. He's in sector 1 at the moment. We're right on board with him a little longer. Such a quick circuit, but no room for error. As you can see, barriers very close to the circuit. There are parts of the circuit you can go off and get away with it, but if you lose it at the wrong moment on the wrong part of the circuit, you're done for. They improved on his previous best, 0.6 faster than his previous best in sector 1. He's got a good lap under him, trying to get himself up into the top 10. In order to get himself up into the top 10, he needs at least 0.4 of a second, but all of those drivers ahead of him are also looking for improvements. So he's going to need to find more than that. Sector 2 does beat his personal best, but only by 0.05 of a second. It's all going to be about sector 3 for him now. Can he hold this lap together? His current best is a 1:34.1. Took 0.5 out of the first sector. for the 610. I think he's backed off. This is Will in the only McLaren. Of course, last weekend McLaren competed in 3 events on the same day. So got Formula E first thing in the morning for the Beijing E3, and there was the Monaco Grand Prix and then the Indy 500, and in all 3 events McLaren finished second. If you did watch the Indy 500, it was heartbreaking stuff. That award led to a large majority of that final stint, and then lost the lead on the final lap of the race. And Joseph Newgarden went on from the Indy 500 as they've done for 5 times before. Winners to do very well in Formula 1 were Jacques Villeneuve and Juan Pablo Montoya. Of course, Juan Pablo Montoya never won an F1 World Championship. Challenge. But 1996 IndyCar champion came to Formula 1 in 1997. He came to Formula 1 in 1996. He finished second in his rookie season, and in his second season he won the championship. The champion in the 500 winners, one champion, like 3 years. You guys let me know if you can hear me now. I had to change my headphones. And that is the end of Q2. There are your results for Q2. 0 to Cool, P1, Dan Ritfeld P2, then Nick Geshen landed in P3, Panda P4, he broke up into the 132s, then Arno Goos P5, Boinkies P6, Quibus and Namassassin 7 and 8, and then Levy and Kev 9 and 10. Eliminated, Ariamondi, Zubair, Will, And of course Esotronic had that crash. Well, the PS5 headphones gave up on me, so I'm back on the PS4 headphones. And somehow they still work. We're now in, obviously, the beginning of Q3. This is the most important of the quali sessions. This is the one that'll set the grid for the top 10. About half the field out on track doing outlaps, the other half in the pits. And as I say that, a whole more bunch of cars come out. I was going to say only Kurbis remains in the pits and he leaves the pits. So everyone out on track, 10 cars out on track. And just over, well, just under 11 minutes to go. Don't have a lot of time. It's an incredibly long racetrack, so you're probably not going to get 3 stints. Got to manage your time wisely. Make sure you don't spend too much time faffing around in the pits. You need to get out there, you need to get on with it. You've seen the lap times in Q2, multiple drivers getting into the 32s. So if you want to start towards the top of this field, you're going to have to be on your A game. This is Kurbis. A lot of cars out on tracks, a lot of cars going slowly. Remember, every single driver, it's really your responsibility to make sure you don't run into anybody on track. You need to make sure on that outlap that you're comfortable with the gap ahead, that you're comfortable with the gap behind. Find yourself a little bubble of free air that you can have a good quali lap. If you start your fast lap too close to another car and run into him by the second or third corner, you've really only got yourself to blame. Got Kev, Arno Host, Panda, Nam Assassin, Nick Gishin all on fast laps, as is Zero to Cool and Dan Redfeld. This is Kev. Sphere, Las Vegas Sphere on the left hand side. Quite a crazy stat that for the cost of that sphere you could build something like, I can't remember what the stat was, but it was something like 15 soccer cities. Of course, Soccer City only cost, I think it was 1.3 billion rand. That sphere cost a few $billion. Zero to Cool, quickest lap so far, 33, beaten immediately. Nick Gishin, 32.6, fastest lap we've seen this evening so far. Arno Host, 32.7, very close. Zero to Cool, 33.2, so he's not quite where he wants to be. He needs to find himself another half a second. Kurbis also out on track, we ride with him. No lap from him yet. The order is Nick Gishin, Arno Host, the two Alpines at the top of the order again. Then Nam Assassin, Zero to Cool, Kev, Panda. And this here is Kurbis in the Aston Martin. Very nice, using all of the curbs. Trying to get through the chicane without there we go, very nicely done. That is the fastest lap we've had all night. It's a 32.4. It's getting awfully close to the pole prediction time we had earlier. That was a 32.2 from Nick Gishen. So if that prediction were to come true, Nick Gishen needs to find 4/10 of a second. If he wants to take pole, he only needs to find 3. There are drivers behind him that are also improving, that also have the potential to get into those low 32s. All they need to do is stitch their lap together, everybody in this field. He's a quick driver. There's no slow drivers here in the top 10. You don't get to Q3 if you're a slow driver. So expect a close field. Here we are. We do have a field. All 10 drivers have set a lap. Gaps within the top 10 pretty big for now, but that was just their first runs. I'm sure we're still going to see these lap times come down even more. This is your provisional pole sitter, 132.4. That's the gauntlet that's been thrown down. All of these cars came out at the same time, set their fast lap at the same time, and now they're coming back into the pits. So this is giving us little moments of no action out on track. Well, I still think this would be more exciting than commentating on Sunday's Monaco Grand Prix. Just no overtakes. Of course, the Formula E race that happened, I think it was 3 weeks before the Monaco Grand Prix. Formula E raced in Monaco on the very same circuit. More than 70 overtakes in the race. 73, I believe it was. Also, Monaco E-Prix about 3 years ago, there were 7 overtakes for the lead of the race. So maybe Monaco isn't the problem. It's really just the size of these cars, the weight of these cars. Remember, in the 90s, these cars were 1.7 meters wide. They're now 2 meters wide. And they're a lot heavier than they used to be. Which is why in 2030, F1 is considering dropping the hybrid unit from the engine. Which would be a very failed experiment if we went from V8s to hybrids, back to V8s. Nick Gishen is on an outlap. His best time is a 132.6, 2/10 off provisional pole. He's going to start a fast lap now. Let's bring up some data on your screens. I'm sure everybody's going to be on a set of soft tyres, no need to check that. But Nick Gishen looking for an improvement. He's in sector 1. It's fantastic Vegas circuit. Gishen in second place so far. Ooh, and I think he just tapped the wall. Did he tap the wall, or was that just the internet? I'm not sure what that was, but it looked like it. Quibus is on his way out of the pits. Knows he needs to go out and defend that time. Nick Gishen's out on track. And that time is not safe. Just 2/10 of a second is the buffer. Quibus has to go out. He wants to improve, defend that lap, make sure he starts the race in pole position, and the man who's trying to stop that is the Alpine. Look at that, I think he's lining up his teammate again. The Alpines have been doing it throughout quali. got to be close enough to that car to get the slipstream. I think that's his teammate ahead of him. Nikishin comes into the pit, so he doesn't improve on that 32.6. Obviously knew that the lap wasn't going in the right direction and then just backed out of it. Takes a while to get around here, so you don't want to do an unnecessary lap. Go in, put on a fresh set of softs, do it all over again. And I think that's what Nikishin will be doing. We have a caution. That could just be for drivers driving slowly on track. Nothing wrong there. It is a qualifying session. Drivers just trying to give each other space, or really just find space for themselves. So it's Quibus and then the two Alpines, Nikishin, Arno Hoos, Namassassin P4, then the two Alfa Romeos, Zero to Cool and Levy, P5 and 6. Then the two Haas drivers, Kev and Dan Ritveld, 7 and 8. And then Panda and Boinkies, 9 and 10. Nikishin on an outlap. Arno Hoos in sector 3. Goes over the line. Ahead of his teammate. It's 132.4. It's just not quick enough to catch Quibus, but how close is that? 0.08 of a second between P1 and P2. And we've still got Nikishin out on track. He's on an outlap looking to find an improvement. A lot of cars out on track. You want to see Alfa Romeo going very slowly. The other Alfa Romeo is on the move. That's Levy, Kev, Panda also out on track. Levy's retired from the session. Luckily for all of these drivers, we don't get red flags in quali. Otherwise, that could have been it for everybody. Could actually be an interesting addition to the game if somebody crashes with very few minutes remaining in the session and they just red flag the session and everybody ends on those laps. They don't get their final runs. So Quibus stays fastest, Panda P2, Arno Hoos P3. Nikishin has got the checkered flag, 132.6, wasn't able to improve on that. Who's still coming over the line? Namassassin. He seems to be going very slowly. There is Zero to Cool. He's not going slowly, he's doing 220 kilometers an hour. Currently P9, 133.2, wants to get himself up into the 132s at very least. He's in sector 3s in the closing stages of the lap. Let's see what comes of the Alfa Romeo. Ooh. Zero to Cool backed out of that. Where is Zero to Cool? There he is, goes over the line. Don't think he found the improvement. Gets the checkered flag, and I think everyone has the checkered flag. So that is the end of Q3. We're just going to wait for the official results before we read them out. So Quibus, fantastic session for him. Haven't spoken about him too much. Kept on speaking about Nikishin because of that pole prediction we got at the beginning of the stream. Turns out this was the driver that took the quickest lap, just 2/10 away from the prediction. The prediction was a 32.2. We landed up with a 32.4. So there's your official results for Q3. Quibus takes pole position. Panda's going to start alongside him on the front row. Then we've got the two Alpines on the second row, Arno Hoos, Nikishin, the two Haas on the third row. That's Dan Ritveld and Kev. We've got Namassassin P7 for Ferrari, Boinkies P8 for Williams, and then the two Alfa Romeos, Zero to Cool and Levy find themselves in P9 and P10. Now we've seen quick lap times, we've seen the drivers having some fun, but this is what it's all about. It's about the race. This is where you get points. It's not about qualifying. Remember, pole does not mean victory, and starting last most certainly doesn't mean that's where you have to finish. Safety cars are always a thing. You can come from the back of the field to the front of the field just as much as you could be leading the field and then find yourself at the rear. These things can happen very quickly. And turn one is always an exciting prospect. Lots of support there in the comment section for Quibus. Very nice lap by Quibus, a 132.4, class of the field in qualifying. And he'll be hoping to be able to translate that pace into race pace. Speaking of race pace, 5 red lights. And they're out, and we're underway. It's going to be Quibus versus Panda, Ariamondi, Nick Gishin into turn 1. Who's going to go into turn 1 first? Who's going to come out of turn 1 first? And Quibus seems to have got all of that under control. We've got a 5-second penalty for a severe collision. Ariamondi has fallen to the rear of the field. Quibus P1, Panda still P2, then the two Alpines. Arno Goos, Nick Gishin, that's P3 and 4, Kev P5. Is that a Haas going aggressive? I believe it is. That's Dan Rietveld looking to make an overtake on the Ferrari, but he's coming under pressure of his own from what appears to be a Williams on his left. That's Zubair. There is Zubair. To get the alternate angle, there we can see the Haas we were just riding on board with. And finally, they're not going to wheel. There's nerve-wracking stuff when you see wheel-to-wheel action on lap 1. So easy to get accidents. How many times have we seen a lap 1 safety car on this channel? But everybody for now just keeping it clean, knowing 25 laps. It's a long race. There's no need to do anything silly, but you can see these DRS zones, how powerful they are. They're overpowered on this circuit because of the length of these straights. So I think we're going to see a lot of overtaking. We're going to see a lot of side-by-side. Arno Goos in P2, Kev in P3. And we've got someone falling down the order. Who is that? That's Panda. Panda falling down the order. He's coming to the pits. Didn't see that, but maybe he had damage on the car, because this is very, very early to come into the pits. So Panda comes in early, the man who started in P2. Race already not going probably the way he would have liked. There's a few cars that came into the pits. I wonder if that was damage for all of them. Was that a multiple incident? I'm not sure what happened there, but was not expecting pit stops at this stage of the race. If you're a driver in F123 but not necessarily driving right now, let me know what sort of tire life can we expect from the hard compound. How many laps can we expect from that hard compound? Because I see some drivers, Panda, Quibus, came into the pits, put on a set of hards. Depending on how far those hards can go, might be looking at a Monaco situation. Stay out there as long as you possibly can on the hards. If a safety car comes out, great, go get rid of the hards. If the safety car doesn't come out, well, You stay out, you don't pit again. Surely not 24 laps on the hards. I think that would be a bit extreme. Nick Gishin over the line for the fastest lap of the race. He's going a little bit quicker than his teammate who's up the road. The gap between those two, 1.3 seconds. Kevin P3, he's all over the back of that second Alpine. Then Zubair didn't have a great qualifying session. He's up into P4. What a start to the race. Then Nemesis in P5. Boinky's the other Williams driver in P6. Then we have a Haas of Dan Rittveld P7, Levy P8, Will P9, and Esotronic, the only Red Bull, making up the top 10. The man in P3, really opening up the gap to Namassassin in P4, not quite able to hold on to Kev. Just the view from Nick Gishin. That horse behind him, but look how much time at the start of that straight. Look how far away that horse is. And by the end of the straight, look how close that horse is. And the horse is gone. So difficult to defend on this circuit. If your battery runs dry, very difficult circuit to charge your battery on, because there's not that many heavy braking points. And you will be absolutely powerless. Even with the battery, it's going to be very difficult to defend from DRS. But once the battery's flat, you can plain forget about it. Panda goes fastest lap, 1:36.4. That's on a set of hard tires. Now Ariamondi going quicker. Fastest lap of the race. Remember, if you're within the top 10 and you get that fastest lap of the race, you are going to get the extra point. Arnaud still leads the way. Kevin P2. Nick Gishin, the two Alpines, trading places, trading paint almost, but they didn't get that close. There we go, just trading places. Nick Gishin now goes into the lead of the race. Arnaud goes P2, but Kev has not let those Alpines get too far up the road. The Haas is going to be able to come back at them, Willie. So difficult when you're in a situation like this with your teammate. If it were any other car, your goal would be get past, pull away as far as you can. Now, get past means whatever you do, don't make contact. Of course, these Alpines are also on identical strategies. They both started on the medium compound. They're both 4 laps old. So these cars are inevitably going to be wanting to pit at the same time, and since they're so close together, the double stack will come into effect. So they're going to have to decide who pits first, who pits second, or if we see what we saw on Monday night, I can't remember who the two teammates were. I think it was two McLarens, if I'm not mistaken. They played that perfectly. One just dropped back slightly on that final lap, and they just avoided the double stack. It's now an Alpine 1-2, as it has been for quite some time. Nick Gishin up front. Arnaud led the race for a while, then he traded places with his teammate. Hasn't really been able to come back at his teammate. He stayed in P2, and he's doing everything he can to defend from that Haas driver. Nick Gishin still out front. His teammates still in P2. Kev still very close to those Alpines. A little further back, we've got the two Williams. Both these drivers doing a great job. Boinky's P4, Zubair, also very impressive. Remember, he got eliminated in Q2, started outside the top 10. Now running behind his teammate, but he's coming under pressure. He's got Namassassin, Dan Rittveld, and Levy all behind him within a DRS train. And the most difficult place to be in a DRS train is leading a DRS train. Because if you're leading a DRS train, that means you're the only one in the train without DRS. Look at this, the Haas goes up into P2 and we have a safety car. Safety car, 5-second penalty for a severe collision with Namassassin. We have a safety car on lap 6 of 25. Haven't seen, do we have a retirement? Do we have a stationary car? It looks like there's a Ferrari at the rear of the field. It's not a Ferrari, it's an Alfa Romeo. But that Alfa Romeo is on the move. So we had 14 drivers. We still have 14 drivers. I haven't picked up a retirement as of yet. So, the safety car. Obviously, when there's an incident, of course the safety car should come out. That's how things are in life. But if the car has a bit of a spin and gets going within a few moments, well, that's what the virtual safety car is for. To the viewers in the comment section, just let me know, can you see the stream, can you hear the stream, is everything sounding and looking okay? Saw a bunch of viewers drop off in the last 2 minutes or so. It went from 9 to 0 and now it's growing again, so just let me know, did my stream drop? Obviously for the time being, race has been neutralized. If you're on a set of hard tires looking to go as deep into the race as possible, this is fantastic news. You get to sit behind the safety car, you're not wearing out your tires, they're not up to temperature, they're barely even awake. So you get a few bonus laps on those tires the more time you spend behind the safety car. Kev is going to be in charge of that restart. Arno goes P2, Boinky's now up into P3. Nick Gishin, he chose to make a pit stop. He's come out on the hard tyre, and that I do assume is going to be until the end of the race. Of course, unless we have another safety car and drivers can get rid of their relatively old hards. I think we're going to have a few drivers finishing on that hard tyre. One or two of them might be about to fall off a cliff. Of course, if you want to take them to the end, you're going to have to pull a George Russell performance. Got the nickname of the Tyre Whisperer in Monaco. Had to make those hards last a very, very long time. I'm not sure how many times it happened, but I do remember on one occasion, before we had the mandatory you have to use 2 compounds, I believe it was Mika Salo. He finished the Monaco Grand Prix without a pit stop. Did the entire lap, did the entire race in the 90s, no pit stop, same set of tyres, and they really filled up that car. Remember, this was in a time of refueling. So they filled the car as much as possible, gave him one set of tyres, and he didn't come back into the pits until the checkered flag. Still under safety car conditions, lap 8 of 25. Each lap that passes, these hard runners will be able to go a little bit further on into the race. What this has done is Nick Gishin, who was leading the race, this has effectively given him a free pit stop. Because he's come out in P5, he's only about 3 seconds away from the leader, so if he's able to make up a few positions at the start with those fresh tyres, he could find himself right back up into the top 3 within a lap or two. But he will be the only one in the top 3 to have made a pit stop. So all of a sudden, this race could have swung the way of the Alpine driver. I think he was already fast, he was already one of the favourites, but this has just swung in his favour perfectly. Of course, if we get more safety cars, all of that could be cancelled out. Safety car will be in this lap. And Kev immediately starts to back up the field. Of course, the leader decides when to go. There can be no overtaking till the start-finish line. And it's up to Kev to try and get a jump on the field, so he doesn't get attacked into turn 1. Now remember, Nick Gishin, he's there, he's in P4, he's already made up a position. We see a Ferrari. Is that a Ferrari going very slow on the inside? That's no assassin. He's lost a few positions. So Nick Gishin's already made up a position very early on. Now he's chasing down the Williams of Boinkies. Remember, it's going to take a little longer for those hards to get up to temperature. Around him, cars are all on mediums. Mediums should get up to temperature first. But those mediums are 8 laps old. Those top three, they started on those mediums. Nick Gishin's in 4th with a brand new set of hards that could very possibly go to the end of the race. So if it takes 20 odd seconds to do a pit stop around here, he's just given himself a 20-second lead by pitting at the perfect moment. And I don't even know what to say. We are under safety car yet again. We had about a sector of racing, and then we got our second safety car of the race. Start of the race was pretty good. We had 6 clean laps. Then the safety car came out on lap 6. We restarted the race on lap 9, and the safety car has come out on, wait for it, lap 9. Immediately back under safety car conditions. Now these drivers are coming into the pits, but unfortunately for them, that queue had absolutely no time to spread. It wasn't even half a lap. So if you pit now, it's a very good chance you're going to come out at the back of the field. Of course, unless cars pit behind you. But Kev, who's leading the race, is now in P10. And that's because the other drivers have pit behind him. So Kev, Arnachos, Will, Nick Gishin and Esotronic all made pit stops. So Nick Gishin, he was in a very strong position. He chose to come in again. He got rid of the brand new set of hards he had on his car. He's put on a brand new set of mediums. Of course, just 15 laps remaining in this race. So I think he will be able to take those mediums all the way to the end of the race. Just surprised he went in and got rid of those hards. One lap he thought it was a good strategy, the next lap, scrub that. think I need to come up with some sort of a soundboard for every time the safety car comes out. Something sad. Needs to be something sad. If you have any suggestions, let me know.
Hello darkness, my old friend. Hello darkness, my old...
It's lap 11 of 25. This is the second safety car of our race. Of course, we had the one safety car. Got the restart going. And then immediately went into our second safety car. Restarted the race on lap 9 and immediately into another safety car on that very lap. So drivers who had a strategy in mind at the start of the race, that strategy is out the window quite some time ago. Every time a safety car comes out, your mind has to start ticking. What are you going to do? Should you do something? Should you roll the dice? Is there a dice to roll? Of course, sometimes a safety car come out and you're in completely the wrong part of the circuit to be able to utilize it. Sometimes it comes out perfectly and you're looking at the pit entry and you think, this is great. Sometimes you've just missed the pit entry and it calls a safety car. So it's really not just about the safety car, it's also about luck. Where are you on track when that safety car gets called? What sort of situation are your tires in? I mean, it can work against you. We've seen situations where we have a driver who's quicker than the rest of the field. It wasn't so long ago we saw a driver pulling a second a lap on the rest of the field. Had a 32-second lead. Safety car came out, wiped out the lead, and then he lost the lead with 4 laps to go. I'd love to tell you what league that was, but honestly I don't remember. I do 4 races a week and I think I need to start doing notes. Hopefully this time round we won't jump back into a safety car. Boinkies leads the way. He's going to be in charge of this restart, backing up the field. Panda P2, he's had a real up and down race. Remember, he was at the rear of the field at one stage. He's right back up into P2 where he started the race. Boinkies gets the restart underway. He's on 11 lap old mediums. He's chosen not to pit. Panda also 10 lap old hards. Remember, he pit on lap 1 for what I think was damage. Boinkies leads. Levy P2. Panda's dropped a position down to P3. Here we have Zubair up into P3, just getting past the Alpha Tauri. Panda losing positions now at this restart. Now Nam Assassin gets past Dan Ritfeld and he's coming for Panda. That is the next target. He's got the Alpha Tauri in front of him. Italian team versus Italian team, the only 2 Italian teams on the grid, Alpha Tauri and Ferrari. And soon I'm going to have to start calling them RB. And no, I'm not calling them VCOP. And for everybody who says the name is too long, Visa, Cash App, Red Bull, or Visa Cash App RB. Every team in Formula 1 has an incredibly long name, but for some reason they've chosen to call the RB by its full name. If you were to call Mercedes by their full name, they'd also sound pretty ridiculous. The Petronas Ineos AMG Mercedes F1 team. Can you imagine the commentators trying to say that every time? I think the cameras would probably just avoid the Mercs if that was the case. Of course, HP Scuderia Ferrari, apparently. I don't really think that fits in. Of course, another big company that makes printers that sponsored Formula 1 was Canon. Sponsored Williams for a long time in the 90s. Williams Renault. Another dominant Adrian Newey design. And that was as far back as the early 90s. The man's been dominating the grid for years. Levy leads the way. The two Williams, they're in P2 and 3, and if these Williams can play this well, they could get rid of Levy here. But look at these top three though. They're on, well, the top two 6-lap old hards, so I believe they can go to the end of the race. But Boinkies, he's out of sync. He's out of sync with his teammate. He's got 12-lap old mediums, and surely there's nothing he can do. He's not going to be able to defend for much longer. He's probably using all the battery he has right now trying to defend from this Ferrari. But the Ferrari, very nicely done. Does he get him around the outside? Yes, he gets it stopped. And he gets it in front of the Williams. So Namassassin up into P3. Let's just bring up a screen we haven't looked at all in this race. And that is your penalty screen. And oh, will you look at that. So 3-second penalty for Zubair, 3-second penalty for Dan Rietveld. And then Kurbis, P5. He has 10 seconds worth of penalties. Presuming those penalties can come off if he makes further pit stops. Otherwise it will just be added to his race. That in fact may have been the penalty we saw right at the start of the race, the severe collision. Not quite sure what those 10 seconds were for. Levy leads the race. Zubair in P2. He's got a 1-second gap to Levy, but he's got a 3-second penalty next to his name, so that may look like a 1-second gap, but in reality it's a 4-second gap. So Zubair not only would have to pass Levy on circuit, he'd have to open up a 3-second gap in order to keep that win. Namassassin, no penalties next to his name. He's in P3. Then Kurbis, P4, the man with 10 seconds worth of penalties, is going to have to get a great result to be able to try and cancel out that penalty. Boinkies not far behind. Boinkies has been falling down the order somewhat. We have a caution and we have a car falling down the order. We've got a safety car. Dan Rietveld becomes the first retirement of the evening. I'm not even sure how that works. First retirement of the evening, third safety car of the evening. Of course, F1 invented the virtual safety car to avoid situations like that. The first two should have definitely been virtuals. Cars were able to get going relatively quickly. But on this occasion we have had a retirement, and it was a quick driver. It was Dan Rietveld. He's out of the race. And you know who this hurts the most? This is going to hurt the likes of Kurbis. This is going to hurt the drivers that have penalties the most, because what it does is it closes up the field. when you have penalties, you need an open field. If you're in P1, you got a 3-second penalty, but the gap's bigger than 3 seconds, well, you don't have to worry, you're still going to win the race. But if the safety car keeps on closing the field like this, you're not going to be able to get that 3-second gap, and you're going to lose the position. So Zubair has a 3-second penalty. It's not the end of the world. It's not great. It's not the end of the world. Kurbis has got a 10-second penalty when the field is bunched up like this. It's really not a good idea. Panda mentioning that tonight is more of a safety car simulator. Yes, it is. It's a... I think the safety car driver at some stage is going to have to start taking shifts, or maybe the safety car should... What safety car do we have here? We've had so many safety cars and I don't even know... Do we have the Mercedes? Yes, we do. So maybe this Mercedes safety car should just like pull in at the Mercedes garage and get a tire change, because it's been a while. Of course, 3 safety cars need to be present at every Grand Prix. Never seen a safety car crash or a safety car breakdown, but 3 safety cars need to be present, so you have your safety car and you have 2 in reserve. That's how you know this sport is worth a lot of money. If you did watch the Monaco Grand Prix this past Sunday, you would have seen the massive crash at the start of the race involving Sergio Perez. Estimates coming out of Red Bull that the damage to that chassis is estimated at $3.2 million. Insane. That's a pretty expensive crash. Hope it's not coming out of his paycheck, because I don't know how much will be left of his paycheck. Well, Sergio Perez earns $15 million a year, so I think he'll be okay. His teammate, on the other hand, picking up a cool $80 million a year. What will surprise you is that's not the most valuable contract in F1. The most valuable contract in F1 will, well, it'll only start in 2025. Lewis Hamilton to Ferrari, worth £100 million a year. That is also the salary that Ferrari have offered Adrian Newey. Adrian Newey goes to Ferrari, they have offered to match Lewis Hamilton's salary. But if reports are to be believed, Adrian Newey turned down a very big team last week. We just don't know who it is. And maybe that was the Ferrari deal going sour. Of course, Adrian Newey took Williams, which were not doing so well at the time, turned them into a championship winning team in his very early days at Formula 1. Maybe it would be a really nice swan song to see him retiring at Williams, getting Williams to the top before he does. Apologies for the F1 news. There's just no action on track. I've got to fill in the empty spaces, unless you just prefer to hear the engines. No, we thing to take note of as well is that the next Formula 1 Grand Prix we could have an announcement on Carlos Sainz. And the biggest rumours pointing towards a deal with Williams. I think Logan Sargent is on his way out. Safety car in this lap. And we'll be underway yet again. This is the third safety car of the evening. Hopefully there won't be a fourth, there won't be a fifth. Obviously 5 is the limit. And once we only have 3 laps to go, we're in the safe zone. We can't get any more safety cars once there's only 3 laps to go. 2 Alpines somehow have found their way back into P1 and 2 when I thought they had actually ruined their race a little bit with the pit stops. Ooh, we've got a Red Bull going straight on. That's Esotronic. That was the man that retired in qualifying, had an accident. Just missed his braking point, now running wide. He's going to spin it all the way around. Hopefully that doesn't trigger what I think it's going to trigger. It doesn't. We still have a caution. It did get going pretty quickly and the caution's disappeared. All the drivers will breathe a sigh of relief. They see that caution just like I do. So they would have looked up at the top left of their screens and just held their breath. We've got another caution, and every time a caution pops up on the screen, I'm going to freeze momentarily. And I think, well, everyone's slowed down. We don't see it on our, we don't have confirmation on our screen. There it is, virtual safety car. Virtual safety car, I'm not sure for what. We saw the Red Bull spin. Oh, the Red Bull has DNF'd from the race. So when there's no DNF, we get a full safety car. When there is a DNF, we get a virtual safety car. F123 at its best, entertaining us right to the end. If the racing doesn't entertain us, the weird decisions of the game does. Of course, many leagues moving on to F124 pretty soon. Very lengthy virtual safety car. It's lap 19 of 25, and realistically, how many racing laps have we had? We've had 3 safety cars, so that's 9. 9 laps behind the safety car, and that was almost 1 lap behind the virtual. So 10 laps of slow speed racing, which means it's actually a 15 lap race. Ooh, those Alpines getting very, very close. The last thing they want to do is make contact. We know what happens when 2 Alpines come close together. One of them tends to go flying. We don't want to see any of that. Speaking of Alpine, very big chance that Esteban Ocon could be benched for the Canadian Grand Prix. So I'm not saying he's been fired, I'm just saying he could be benched. He could miss a race as punishment from Alpine management. 2 drivers that are favourites to take that seat in Canada, if that does turn out to happen, are Jack Doohan and Mick Schumacher. The Alpine of Nick Gishin just falling down the field. Does he have damage on that car? We're looking at the front wing. We don't see any damage on that Alpine, but Nick Gishin continuing to fall down the field. Arno Koos, the other Alpine, he's in P2 and he's chasing Zubair, and surely it's going to get him. Zubair holds the inside line. He's going to have to go around the outside if he does that. And where did the AlphaTauri come from? The AlphaTauri goes up into P2, and now the second Alpine. That's not the second Alpine, that's the first Alpine. So Arno Koos also falling down the order. Both Alpines now. Your new top 3, Levy, Panda, Zubair leads the way. Thought Zubair might lose the lead there in turn 1. We've had a big incident in the back. And I would be shocked if that wasn't a safety car. We're on lap 20 of 25, so I mentioned the safe zone. We're not in that safe zone. You see the yellow flags for now. Just a caution up on our screens. No confirmation of anything more, but there we go. I said it. I shouldn't have said it. And we are under safety car.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Now who this will... I said it in the last safety car and I'm going to say it again. Who this hurts the most is the drivers with penalties. They're not going to have sufficient time to open up any sort of gap. And they're just going to tumble down the field. Zubair's got 8 seconds worth of penalties. If the race were to end at this moment, Zubair would go from P1 to last place. Another driver at serious risk is Kurbis. He had a fantastic qualifying session, took pole position, but now finds himself in P9 with a 10-second penalty. And with the field this close together, the result is inevitable. Arno Goos utilizes the safety car to make a pit stop. He'll join at the rear of the field on a brand new set of softs. He's going to have a very feisty car for the final 2 laps of the race. Safety cars in this race have generally been 3 laps, so I'm guessing we're going to have a 3-lap sprint to the end. Up at the front, Zubair leads the way, but keep in mind he's got penalties. Lots of penalties. 8 seconds worth of penalties. Panda's in P2, no penalties next to his name. Lebby in P3, Kev P4. None of those drivers have penalties next to their names. If the checkered flag were to fall right now, that's your podium. Panda, Lebby and Kev. But this last 2 or 3 laps will be frantic. Cars are going to be very close together. And this is the opportunity to steal an amazing result. Maybe a result you weren't expecting. The order has been switched up so many times. Safety car comes out, few cars go into the pits, few cars stay out, keep track position, next safety car, same thing, different drivers. And we've just had this field go up and down. We've had Alpines at the front, we've had Alpines at the rear. We had Panda starting P2, then he was down at the rear of the field, now he's back in P2. And that's just the way this race has been. It's been up and down throughout. And now we're back under safety car. So since I've got so many F1 facts in my head, I'll give you another F1 fact. I mentioned earlier on that if Ocon were to get benched for that Canadian Grand Prix, the 2 drivers in main contention for that seat would be Mick Schumacher and Jack Doohan. You might know, or you might not know, who Jack Doohan's father is. Jack Doohan's father is Mick Doohan, 5-time... It wasn't called MotoGP back then, but it's 500cc I think it was called, so 5-time 500cc world champion, Mick Doohan. And Mick Schumacher was actually named after Mick Doohan. So that's quite a connection between the two. Drive will either go to Jack Doohan or the kid named after Jack Doohan's dad. course, drivers have in the past named their kids after their favorite driver. Juan Pablo Montoya, he had a favorite driver. It was Sebastian Vettel. That's why if you go over to Formula 3, you'll see a certain driver by the name of Sebastian Montoya. This is going to be a crucial restart for Panda. Panda at the moment has the provisional lead of the race, not on track. Doesn't appear that way on track. I'm not going crazy. Yes, he is in P2, but Zubair, he's not going to be able to hold on to that lead. Safety car will be in this lap. It means when we go over the start finish line, it's going to be lap 23 of 25. We're going to get a 3-lap sprint to determine this race. I've just switched back to my other headphones, so if it does start to crackle again, let me know. I do prefer these ones, but if it's giving any issues on the stream, let me know and I'll switch back. Lap 23 of 25, Zubair leads the way from Panda, Levy P3, Kev P4. Nick Gishin has been so quick in this race. Finds himself out of position in P5. Let's bring up your tyre screen. I think that tyre screen could be quite crucial with these few laps to go. Zubair, remember, lots of penalties. Panda provisionally in the lead of the race, 10-lap old mediums. Kev P3 in the race. He's got 7-lap old mediums. Lebby is on the soft, but they've already got 7 laps on them, so not the freshest softs. Nick Gishin, P15, those mediums are pretty old, 13 laps on the mediums. Boinky's also on a set of softs, making up positions, get past Nick Gishin, goes up into P5. And the Alpines that looked so strong earlier on in the race, we're looking at a 1-2 at a stage. They've sort of just whimpered off towards the end of this race. Williams would have been looking at a good race if Zubair didn't have those penalties, P1 and P5. Panda wants to get on with it. Best case scenario for Panda is to get Zubair in between him and the driver in P2. That way, he knows the driver behind him has a penalty, he's not at any risk, and he's holding the rest of the competitors that could be a risk to him, he's holding them back. Best case scenario, Panda would get past Zubair and then just sort of manage the gap. At the moment, Zubair's got the pace to stay in front, and Panda's coming under all sorts of pressure from Lebby, so victory in this race, far from decided. Field's still very, very close together, as you can see there on your timing screens. I think it's 8 seconds covers the field. We've had a retirement, but like I said, we're in the safe zone. Nick Gishin becomes the latest retirement. There's only 2 laps to go in the race, so there won't be any form of safety car. We'll just get on with it. Zubair leads the way from Panda, Levy P3. So I have Kev in P4, Boinky's in P5. Lap 24 of 25, where is Zubair? Zubair on the penultimate lap of the race. So it's Zubair from Panda, from Lebby, from Kev, from Boinkies. Those are your top 5. We have Ariamondi P6, we have Kurbis in P7, but he's as good as last. He's got 10 seconds next to his name. Ariamondi P8, Will P9, and Zero to Cool making up the points positions and making up the field, because we only have 10 drivers remaining. Zubair has been able to hold on to that lead. Frustratingly so for Panda, because Panda would have loved to get past. Now he's coming under pressure from Lebby. And does he get past? Tries to go around the outside. Zubair defends for all it's worth. And that has let the Alfa Romeo get through into P2. And that's exactly what Panda was trying to avoid. Wanted to get that Williams in between him and Levy just for some extra protection. Instead, got involved in a wrestle with Zubair. Wasn't able to win. And in the process lost another position, and crucially for him, Levy's got no penalties next to his name. It is lap 25 of 25, and Levy may have stolen this under everyone's noses. And he's coming for Zubair. He's going to pass him on track. He doesn't want to win because of penalties. He wants to win because he got to the checkered flag first. Panda now challenging Zubair. Does he get past this time round? Zubair defends again. Very interesting. There we go. The Alfa Romeo having a bit of a weave. Don't weave that early. That's not even the main straight yet. There we go. Too much of a weave. Almost lost it. And we have the checkered flag. Kev has picked up a penalty right at the end of the race. We're going to wait for the official results, because I can't make sense of those penalties. Levy gets driver of the day. And he also went on to win the race, I believe. Let's wait for those official results. There we go, official results. Levy takes the victory. He was also driver of the day. Then Panda P2 also took fastest lap, so picks up the extra point. Boinky's P3 makes up the podium sitters. Ariamondi P4, Will P5, Arno goes P6, the only finishing Alpine. Then Kev P7, Zubair P8, Zeratul P9, and Quibus made up the field. We had 4 DNFs, Nick Gishin, Namathassan, Esotronic, and Dan Ritfeld. Right, that is the end of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. We would like to do some driver interviews. We did that with SAFRL earlier on in the week. So if the top 3 would like to partake in some driver interviews, you can go over to the NFR Discord server and you can go to the NFR cooldown room, and I will get you in the cooldown room. So I'll wait for a few minutes, see if anybody wants to join. Obviously, I don't think I advertised this to DRS, so the guys wouldn't have known. But it is something we'll be doing in all future races, bringing in the top 3 and the driver of the day. Obviously, today the winner and the driver of the day were the same person, but I don't think anybody's gonna come in. But what we will do is I'm going to tell everybody at DRS, I'm going to tell everybody at SAFRL and SKR and all whatever other leagues I'm commentating on that we are going to start doing driver interviews after the race. The top 3 will be invited into the cooldown room, and then they'll be brought into the comms box one by one for a few questions about how the race went for them. And yeah, I think the channel's definitely on the up and up. I want to thank everybody for all of the support on the channel, for all of the likes, for all of the views. The channel couldn't exist without you guys. So if you haven't subscribed, please do. If you haven't left a like, please do. It really helps us out. I'll be back on Sunday night, and until then, cheers.